Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
And I'm Office Bloke Max.
Here we are, all three of us together.
Yay!
Back. We're back.
Full team.
Yeah.
Full squad.
I've had my holiday. Need another holiday to get over that holiday.
It's the way, don't
I mean,
the cycle continues.
Yeah, you get back and you feel like you need a holiday, don't you?
Yeah.
the FA
absolutely.
Cup final as well in between. So I got back and then straight to Wembley.
Yeah,
sort
you've
of
got
thing.
another match tomorrow.
Got another match tomorrow, yeah. Then once the season's over, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
Yeah, don't blame me. Don't
Taking a
blame
break
me.
from football. Fed up with it. Anyway, this is a bit of Lawrence. 8 American habits that confuse me as a Brit.
Right, okay.
See what's
not seen for a while.
I don't think I've reacted to it.
Has he got your hat on?
No, yeah.
Just copy my style.
Did I not get the memo?
No, yeah.
Me and Mike,
Yeah,
woolly
yeah.
hats, middle of summer, boiling hot outside,
Bully up.
ski hat.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thanks. Just put it on my knee. Yeah. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond. And one of those memos pertains to habits, specifically American habits that confused me when I first moved to the United States. And I'm not talking about things like picking your nose, because I think we all do that. Most of you do that, I think, is what I've heard. I'm talking about habits that seem to be culturally ingrained in America and not so much in Britain. One such habit is that Americans tend to be more direct. And so in the interest of assimilation, I'm going to do likewise. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, here are 8 American habits that confused me as a Brit. Alright, so I was already prepared for this one just because, you know, we watch a lot of American films back in Britain. But when my new American relatives and or friends started calling me things like buddy and pal, there was a weird novelty to it. I can't really...
Pal's a big thing over here, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Not so much buddy.
Does it come across as like condescending though?
Pal.
Yeah, you're right, pal.
I say pal to a lot of people.
Yeah, same here.
Are you being condescending?
All right, pal. Calm down.
Hi, buddy.
All right, sport. All right, don't need that.
Explain it. It's like how I've said before, you know, how I always thought yellow school buses were simply a trope of American films. To some degree, you start thinking that about everything, and words like buddy and pal fell into that category. Growing up in Britain, where the equivalent word is mate, it took some getting used to, and I also noticed that just like with the word mate, both buddy and pal can be used in an affectionate way and a not so affectionate way. An example would be if an American hasn't seen you in a long time, they might say, "Hey buddy, what's up?" Because, you know, they think I'm a dog.
not bad,
On the
not
other hand,
bad
if
impression,
you took
that
their car seat, they'll look at you with that steely expression on their face and say, "I called shotgun, buddy." And, you know, this happens all the time. It could mean that I'm just an asshole. It's probably that. Now, I can't say that this goes for all immigrants that move to the United States, but one thing that I've experienced a lot is Americans saying, "I love your accent." Did you order that online? It is a common question that I get from people. You know, "Ooh, you sound just like the Geico Gecko. Could I just put you in the corner and have you speak to me all day?" And yes, those are real things that have been said to me, but, you know, in some ways it's good because it's an icebreaker. I'm an introvert. I don't want to just, you know, think of things to say. And so if they want me to say words like water, tomato, and banana, it's an easy enough paycheck. They get a good giggle out of it, and I never have to see them again. Coffee is a huge thing over here, and of course they drink it in cups that are as big as this one right here, because not only do pound for pound Americans drink more coffee than British people, they also drink them, on the whole, in bigger cups. Now, I never used to drink coffee, that is, when I was in Britain, so I didn't previously have a point of comparison between the coffee cups in this country and those in Britain. But you know, a few years ago, the wife and I went to Paris. And then we went to England just recently, and it dawned on me, the cups over there, on the whole, are smaller. The default that they will give you for just a latte are like there, you know, they're small. In some ways, that's good because it sort of promotes responsible caffeine intake. On the other, when I was in Britain, instead of just ordering one small coffee like that, I'd get 3 of them. That's why I was jet lagged the whole time. I've just realised that. And you might say, well, that's not really to do with American habits, that's just what's on offer. But even I, now, as an American citizen, do have the habit of just ordering a grande. And I think the real habit that Americans do more than Europeans is taking this with you on the go, through the park, a little saunter around the shopping mall, which is probably where you bought this. And I think that even though Britain is starting to catch up in terms of its coffee culture, there's still quite a wide difference between the coffee drinking habits of the two peoples. And the part of me that really loves my convenience likes to walk down the street with a coffee in my hand. But on the other, I don't like to give in to this societal pressure of always needing to be busy and on the go. So I mostly just drink it in the bath. Americans have this big habit of using the word right in ways that other people don't. And I'm not just talking about politics, I'm talking about the way in which it's used in sentences. First of all, there is this thing Americans do when they want to show agreement with another person, where they say, I know, right? Or they might just abbreviate that question/sentence to just right. And it's sort of infectious.
I think we use that a lot over here.
Would you use that?
Yeah.
A
I
lot
think
of
so.
people, when you're speaking to people, you might not realise you're saying it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes...
Up north we go like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely...
do you know what I mean?
Equivalent, I
Yeah.
suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but the word right, or do you know, isn't that right? Right.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I
it's
get
the
that.
thing.
Yeah, big time.
It's the sort of thing that, in my early days in the US, I found myself saying again and again and again, until I remember that I'm a bit of a contrarian, and since everybody else was doing it, I had to stop doing it. But there's another use of the word right that I think I've also been guilty of, where they'll use it almost like an interjection. So, for example, my management team might say something like, Lawrence is the next big thing, right? He's smart, he's talented, he's the third sexiest man alive. And while statistically a third of that is true, the important part here is that my management team remembered to stick the word right in there so that you wouldn't stop listening. On the other hand, it's hours and not miles. That's right. In Britain, if we talk about the distance from point A to point B, we'll typically say it's a certain amount of miles, as opposed to kilometres. But this is not a conversation about imperial versus metric. This is merely me giving the British perspective so that I can contrast it with the fact that a lot of the time, Americans, when they tell me how long it takes to get from, say, Chicago to Indianapolis, it isn't a couple of hundred miles, it's 6 hours. That's because we often stop at the dog park. Maybe this is a result of the fact that Americans drive longer distances, and so they need to know that time, because sometimes you can drive so long in the US that you actually need to stop for the night and, book a motel. The time becomes more important, I suppose, to a potential commute. I still prefer to go by the bigger number, which is the distance, and therefore is more
How do you
impressive
do it?
to me. But
Mileage.
I do
Then I
like more time. I think.
Same.
It's like half an hour.
That's what I always do. Someone said, how far is Manchester to Liverpool? I say about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say 27 miles.
It depends what the question is,
Yeah,
really.
I
I
don't
mean,
know that.
if someone says how long's, or how far is, say, I don't know, Birmingham,
London, yeah.
or London, I'd say it's about 180 miles. I wouldn't say it's like 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever. I'd say the mileage.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
If it's local, you might say where's Stockport.
About 15 minutes that way.
Then I might say it'll take about 20 minutes to get there because I'm not sure of the mileage.
Fuck
Which
off.
It might be like
I say
5,
someone's
6,
asked me that
5
question.
miles.
Go and ask someone else.
Yeah, what do I go Stockport for?
Yeah,
anyway?
exactly, yeah.
Dog shit.
to each his own. I didn't know whether to put this one in for a while, and then I thought about it and realised that there's actually many different facets to this particular entry, and that entry is this. Americans will use parking lots as death traps. Now, I have a caveat here. This is by no means all Americans. It's very specific ones. When I worked in the call centre, I used to get a ride from someone who lived in the local area. And one day, it had been snowing really bad outside, and she decided, hey, British person with your naive ways, have you ever done a 360-degree skid in a car park? Although she wouldn't have said car park. And I thought she was joking. You know, it'd been a long day of people yelling at us until she did it just there in the partially empty parking lot, and we span around. I thought I was about to die and or be deported, and she was laughing her head off. At first I thought this was an isolated incident until some teenagers started drifting, as it's known, in the car park to my local school. You might say, oh Lawrence, great, you've cherry-picked a part of your memory bank to make it seem as if things like this happen all the time. They don't, but parking lots are a place in which I've seen differences in people's awareness of other cars. In Britain, and this may have changed in the smartphone era, if you're walking into one of the big stores from a car park, you're usually hyper aware of any cars that may be behind you trying to get out. So you walk at the side right up against any cars here, and you do so at a speed that is slightly above walking pace. In America, those people on foot are not always in such a rush. Like, you could be in your car trying to drive this way, and there's like
Such a
two
nitpick,
people
innit?
walking really slowly there, and they don't care. It's not been bred into Americans to care. I talked a few weeks ago about the British tendency to want to save the face of other people, to not put them out. This is a generalization, it's not true of everyone, but it does exist nonetheless. Americans don't necessarily have that approach to society, and I think this is perfectly embodied by their approach to exiting a parking lot. Here's a habit that... Sorry. Here's a habit that I feel like I've picked up since being here. Americans, if they have access to vacation days, which is not always a given, will take those vacation days, but still occasionally work on those vacation days, even if it's just a light email or two. And I feel like when I was in England recently, I told myself, no work, no work, no way, Jose. I'm just going to go and enjoy the countryside and a plate of fish and chips and come home. I did do some filming, and I had 3 plates of fish and chips to make up for it. But this tendency among some American workers with whom I've worked was quite jarring. I think in Britain, where we are given, I think it's 28 days of paid leave a year, we value that time. I think we value our holidays. We see the importance of rejuvenation, and that importance isn't just toward your physical well-being, it also improves your job performance. And so this American habit of working beyond regular hours is one that's born out of a society where it's almost shameful not to work hard, to put in the hours, to go above and beyond just to get that promotion. I got burned out doing that at the call center, partly because I had to deal with people, but partly because I just didn't have a life. So when I took vacation time at that company or other companies, I really took that vacation time. It's only since I became a bona fide YouTube sensation that I found myself doing occasional work on holiday. I think it's easier when you love your job, but it doesn't mean that rest isn't important, which is why you should stay tuned until the end of this video to watch my take on why British and American sleep time is very different. And I put this one in because I didn't want this video to feel like it was a complete slam against America and American life. I don't feel particularly negative toward most of these habits, and this is especially true of this one, which is more of an anti-habit. It's about chewing gum. Now, when I think of chewing gum, I think of Americans for some reason. But I noticed something when I was in Britain, and it was this, that the pavements, or as they're known here, sidewalks, were pretty littered, especially in downtown areas, with chewing gum. It occurred to me at that moment that I hadn't really seen a chewing gum laden sidewalk on that level since I lived in Britain. This was a common sight, just walking down a downtown street. In America, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, I mean gum spitters are everywhere, but with the exception of occasional cracks in the sidewalk, they always seem to be a bit more clean than the ones in Britain. And so I've put this in here because I want to ask the question, is that because Americans have a good habit of not spitting out chewing gum as much as British people, or is it because they replace the sidewalk every now and again? So those are just some of the habits that confused me when I first moved to America. Let me know in the comments if you're American and if you habitually do any of these things.
Fair enough.
The chewing gum things is interesting because our streets are strewn by. If I see someone spat chewing gum out, I'm getting a lug warmer.
There is a lot about
Someone spat chewing gum out and I'm walking down the street, I won't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to let that go.
No, should just
No chance.
put it in a tissue or put it in a wrapper and throw it in the bin. That's all you need to do. It's simple, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I've noticed as well when you go to when you go parks and places like now in Britain, if they've got like a communal bin, it's fucking overpacked. It's always overflowing.
Yeah.
They don't seem to empty them.
They don't do they? Not on a regular basis. They don't. Absolutely disgraceful. Some of them, honestly.
It's just that's why
really bad.
Britain's become that way, hasn't it?
I think we've all been in car parks, sort of skidding about a bit in cars, haven't we? I don't
do that. It's, once it snows, I don't go out.
No, not now. No, I mean, years ago, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I think
you would do it, wouldn't you?
I think I've done that, gone to the supermarket car park and do a few handbrake skids and stuff like that, because, when else can you do it? Because you can,
But some of the things, a lot of the stuff he says when he says right and things like that, we definitely use that.
I
think we definitely use pal a lot.
Big time, I think, I think even buddy sometimes.
Yeah, not as much. I don't think buddy's used, but yeah, it is used, but I don't think it's as much as it is like in the USA.
No,
but I think
pal is definitely
pal's definitely over it,
use that a lot as well. Definitely.
Mate and pal, his two.
Pal.
Yeah, I use both of them for sure. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you do, right?
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.